sex is how we exist. Sex is often our most joyful experiences, but it can also be some of our most traumatic. And I think that just speaks to how powerful sex really is in our lives, yet we just ignore it. We don't talk about it. We don't educate about it. And we're just hoping that we're going to have this thriving, passionate sex life that's going to be somehow indicative of this better life that we're having. Yet there's no education.
You're listening to the Almost 30 podcast, hosted by Krista Williams and Lindsay Simsick. Almost 30 started as a conversation about the transition from our 20s to our 30s. But then we realized life is full of transitions. So we expanded our mission.
We are an intuition-led, wellness-focused lifestyle podcast that promises to deliver authentic conversations, diverse points of view, and insights rooted in optimism, growth, and intention. The Almost 30 Nation community is a group of purposeful dreamers who are smart, passionate, and always seeking the full potential in every aspect of their lives.
At Almost 30, we're making magic together. We dream it,
and then we do it.
Thanks so much for tuning into the Almost 30 podcast.
Here we go.
Hello and welcome to the Almost 30 podcast.
Hello, everyone. It's Lindsay and Krista, your best friends from afar. And we started this when we were going through our transition from our 20s to our 30s. I'm sure a lot of you out there are in it and it's interesting. But we just felt like we didn't have the answers. We felt lost. We felt a little bit frustrated because
I was depressed.
Y'all, college does not truly
set me up for life.
College does not prepare you for this at all. And so we wanted to bring the conversations to the airwaves and make you feel less alone. So here we are 3 years later.
Yeah, we talked about the environment recently, which was really great. We've talked about social justice issues. We talked about sexuality, femininity, masculine, feminine, relationship, sex, all of that. We really don't put ourselves in a box. As many of the women in our community, we are dynamic and diverse.
Yeah. And we love you. We've been on tour for the last 2 years. So meeting you in person has, I think, just one, it's a differentiator. I don't think a ton of podcasts are doing it, but it's really inspired every part of, our content, our business, and just why we do this. So shout out to y'all if you've been on tour. Thank you for coming. And we'll be on tour later this year. So stay tuned for those dates. Just a few orders of business before we get into this week's topic and guests, which we're so pumped about. We're announcing something special on Monday.
Oh, yes. So if you guys are part of our community, you may know, but we are announcing our 2020 retreat on Monday. So last year we brought together 24 amazing women in Malibu at Calamigos Ranch, 5-star Calamigos Guest Ranch, Restoration Hardware vibes in the canyon. It's so beautiful. And we had people like Shan Booty, Milana Snow. We did Reiki, astrology, breath work, relationships, health, wellness. We went to the pool. We went to the beach. We had amazing food, all of the things. It's Almost 30 and Friends. It is thoughtful and conscious. And we are pumped to launch it on Monday, baby.
Yeah. So if you're interested, I can tell you from just keeping in touch with people who came last year that it was really impactful.
They do Zoom calls.
They literally connect with each other all the time. And so just learn more on our website, almost30podcast.com/retreat. And if you're called, I say come. It's going to be just such a blast.
Yeah, it's going to be so much fun. So check the website, almost30podcast.com. We will have the retreat page on there with more information. There are payment plans for you. And then, pumped to see you in Malibu. DM us if you have any questions. Happy to help. And another note on that, what I love about what we do for these retreats and what's been so fun about owning a business is like implementing things that you wish you saw in the world. And one of those was like to have the people and the attendees fill out a form so that we can really get to know them before they come and make sure their experiences is incredible. So we are trying to be as thoughtful as possible with this. And you will fill out a form that explains who you are, your intention, all of these quirks that you may have, everything that you're looking forward to doing at the retreat, what you're a little nervous about, etc. And we really cater it to you because we want you to feel special and important at our retreat.
Yeah, can't wait to see you. And another note, we are launching the new Podcast Pro program, and we are hosting a free online training Sunday, January 19th. And we are giving you our 5 tips to get your first 1,000 listeners and turn it into 1 million.
Yeah, it's going to be so much fun. So if you've been interested in podcasting, just come on. It's casual. It's just us. And Lindsay and I have learned a lot in the past 3 years. I will proudly say that. We've had highs and we've had lows, but we've really learned a lot about podcasting, and we really want to just help you get from where you want to go, just much easier than we may have had. So this free online training, you can go to the Your Podcast Pro website. That's YOUR podcastpro.com to find out more information and join that today.
Yeah. Okay. Biz is done. Super excited. On the podcast today, we have Alexandra Fine, who is the CEO and co-founder of Dame Products. She is a sexologist. I love having these conversations that in my life, sure, I've talked about with close friends, but to kind of strip the stigma and have a really fun, experimental, just eye-opening conversation about sex, about pleasure, about relationships was just refreshing.
Yeah. And she talks about being open in her relationship, which I feel like has been coming up so much. I really appreciate that she is an actual sexologist, and she had her friends try on the molds of the vagina for her Dame products and has been passionate about it from the get. She's really been someone that has been sex positive forever. So this is about entrepreneurship, but this is also about femininity, sexuality. This is about relationships and how she navigates her relationship as a CEO of a sex wellness company. I actually follow her on Twitter, and I have for a long time. And I remember reading a tweet where she said one time, one of her biggest relationship hacks is to have sex before dinner. Sex is an embodied act, and our bodies are impacted by light, temperature, food, and other environmental factors. And I actually do this whenever I can, is having sex before you go to the dinner rather than after, because after I never want to. I'm so full, you have to, it's just a deal, and you're tired and all of those things. So I completely am in alignment with that, and I'm down for all the relationship sex facts.
Truly. And she's so open. I just loved the ease with which she talked about her childhood and growing up and how she's always been so curious. And, there were people or situations in her life that kind of maybe saw that as something shameful, but she just plowed through. I love talking to people who have that confidence innately in themselves. So we're really excited to share this conversation. We actually, of course, have a discount code. So you can go to Dame Products.
Sorry for providing you savings.
Sorry for making your life awesome. No, the toys are incredible. They are made from silicone or medical grade silicone. They're fun. They actually work, and they are safe. They are tested by real humans, but you can use our code almost30 for 15% off at dameproducts.com.
Yeah. My favorite from their products is the Fin. I've had it forever. The Palm is also a good one. And then the Eva 2 is for 2 people.
Don't be afraid of the Eva 2, y'all.
Don't be afraid of the Eva 2.
It has some little wings on it.
You got it. Dame Products, code is almost 30. Thank you so much, Alexandra, for joining us on Almost 30 podcast. We love having conversations like this. We appreciate you. We will see you guys at the free training for podcasting that is happening on the 19th. And we'll see you in Malibu.
Can't wait. And we just wanted to add that the audio at about 45 minutes into this episode is slightly altered and different. We switched to just the Zoom audio. We had some technical difficulties in the studio, but it should not affect your experience taking in this conversation with Alexandra Fine. Love ya.
Love ya.
Okay, this is what I know, and I hope my mom isn't listening, but if you are a mom, hi mom. This is what I know. Sex and personal pleasure time is so much better with a lubricant. And since we are obsessed here at Almost 30 with quality and making sure that the products that touch our bodies or are in our bodies are good for our bodies and the environment, we have found Woo More Play, and we could not be more excited to tell you about it and just happy, honestly happy in the bed. And this also doubles as a massage oil as well. So their coconut love oil is a cult favorite. It has organic coconut oil. It has vanilla essence, which is like delicious to taste and also smells amazing. It has a little beeswax, which goes a long way to soften and soothe the skin. Sometimes it gets a little inflamed down there, you know what I mean? So it's really soothing. It has stevia in it, so it's a way to sweeten it up a little bit. Stevia also has antioxidants and tannins and caffeic acid, all these amazing things to help you when you're playing with woo, you know what I mean? And listen, as women, we experience different levels of wetness at different times of the month. And when I'm dry, woo is amazing. And even when I'm wet, woo is just incredible. They also have freshies, which I love. I keep these in my purse. I keep them in my little bedside table. These are compact, fresh towelettes that are rich in natural ingredients so you can clean up your act. Quite literally. So if you'd like to learn more and shop Woo More Play, you can go to woomoreplay.com and you can use our code almost30 at checkout for 10% off. Y'all, you better run. I would stock up on this. I have like 3 on my bedside table right now. So it's woomoreplay.com. Use the code almost30 at checkout for 10% off. Y'all, I am obsessed with making my bed my personal heaven. And so I don't skimp on anything, and I make sure that anything that touches my body while I sleep for 8 to 9 hours a night is both safe for me and the environment, and obviously snuggly as hell. And Buffy, y'all, this is a one-stop shop. Buffy makes super soft, earth-friendly bedding. Everything is made from ultra smooth eucalyptus fiber that feels softer than cotton. And this fiber is breathable and cool to the touch to help maintain that ideal sleeping temperature. And it feels cozy without overheating. Your girl tends to get real hot when she sleeps. And this bedding is just incredible for a really restful night's sleep. And this is also earth friendly. It's sourced from renewable forests, consumes 10 times less water to grow, and is transformed into ultra smooth fiber through a waste-free production process. We are obsessed with that here at Almost 30. We really care about how products are made as well as the products themselves if they are effective. All of their products are cruelty-free and hypoallergenic. So anyone out there with allergies and you're finding like you're sneezing when you're sleeping in your sheets and all that stuff, or you have skin rashes, this is hypoallergenic, no down feathers or animal products at Buffy. And, you know, if you don't believe us, go to the 17,000 5-star reviews. Okay? Believe the hype, y'all. If you'd like to try Buffy, could not recommend enough. They have bedding, they have duvets, super comfortable and light and cozy. I have it all, and I can tell you that I've never slept better. So go to buffy.co and enter the code almost30 for $20 off your Buffy bedding. That's buffy.co and enter the code almost30 ALMOST30 for $20 off your Buffy bedding.
Well, we're so excited to talk. I feel like it's been like quite some time. I mean, we worked with you guys, working with you again, but we worked with you guys, I think, over a year ago. And I remember getting my first Eva, my first product, probably over a year and a half ago, and just loving it and really just aligning with your brand story and everything like that. So I'm pumped to talk to you today.
Yeah. And honestly, I feel like we did, we paid for some ad space.
Yep.
Over time, that really, like at first I was like, okay, you know.
Yeah, honestly.
It really built. You guys, it must have been a wild ride for you guys. I feel like it's been really cool to watch you guys grow and to just like.
And it's cool to have these conversations with the audience around topics that maybe at one point for them were a little bit taboo and they were afraid to talk about. And the more that we've talked about it, the more like products like Dame has, like they're like, oh wow, yeah, I really want to try them, and it's been super empowering. And they talk about it in our secret Facebook group. It's been really cool. So we love you guys and love my Eva. I just charged it last night.
You guys have like Calm yet?
Which is the partner one, right?
No, Eva's the partner one. Then there's Finn, that's also a partner one that you
I have Finn.
hands. And then we have this one that's squishy. That's my favorite.
Oh,
okay.
I would love to just get started. In our conversation, I want to talk about a few things. I want to talk about the importance of sexual health. I want to talk about your journey as a female founder in a space that just tees you up perfectly to have discrimination for your age, for your gender, because you are talking about sex products, all of the things. And I want to talk about what it's like to be an entrepreneur. We're really in that space and we find it to be amazing and challenging all at the same time. But I think pulling back the curtain for a lot of people that are inspired, but also letting them know like what really goes on, when you are owning your own company, when you are building your own business, can be very different than what people are seeing on Instagram. But I would like to start, I know you have a co-founder with you that works on the brand, but I would love to hear about, your journey to creating Dame.
Sure.
It's such a unique business that I think our girls would love to hear how you came up with the idea and really built it to where it is today.
Yeah. Well, I was born in 1988 in Long Island, New York. And I really do think that for me, my journey to sexual wellness starts when I'm pretty young. I mean, when I was 6, my cool aunt who lived in Manhattan brought me to a party where I met some drag queens, and they explained everything to me about like learning how to strut my stuff down the catwalk. They like showed me how to do a catwalk, which was super fun. And also explained how they were born boys and like to dress up or all these things. And I went back to my first grade class to explain the difference between what it meant to be a drag queen versus transgender. And I got in trouble. Like the teacher called the principal called my parents. My parents were so upset with my aunt, and I experienced this feeling of getting in trouble when nobody could explain to me how I caused any harm. Like I was just kind of explaining this truth that to me felt so profound. Like I remember walking into this party and being like, oh my God, Long Island is a bubble, which is like, turns out a motif of my life. But it was a really powerful experience for me and I wanted to share it. And then kind of from there, I think I went through so many experiences that I hear now from so many other young, curious, life-loving women. Like I was so excited to explore my body. I was so excited to be a Samantha in the world. And then quickly found out that Samantha exists on the TV. And in real life, if you act like Samantha, people are going to high five the boy that you kissed and kind of snicker at you behind closed doors. And I think that also really really sparked a fire in me of like loving this topic, trying to understand why sex both felt so empowering for me and so disempowering at the same time.
Yeah,
like how am I feeling both those things? And I just really wanted to explore it. I went to college, thought I wanted to be a sex therapist, ended up getting my master's in clinical psychology. Again, still so passionate about sexuality, but ultimately realized I was like way too impatient to be a therapist. I ended up working in consumer goods, selling all natural shampoo. And while I was there, I realized that I love entrepreneurship. And I'm going to talk about why, I felt like through entrepreneurship, I can make an impact in people's lives in a grander scale than maybe the depth, the smaller scale of therapy. So many ways to be a therapist. And I just started making vibrators in my kitchen. All of my, I had this one crazy idea, which ended up being Eva for a hands-free clitoral vibrator that can be worn during sex. So I was looking at consumer goods. I felt like, oh my God, there's this huge consumer good category that fits right into my passion, which is toys for sex. The whole industry feels so out of date. And there are really interesting products. I knew that the products weren't solving the right problem. Like I was looking for a product that was easy to use with my partner that provided clitoral stimulation in a way that didn't ask him to have a less than ideal experience. So we could both get all of the pleasure we wanted out of our sex. So I started making these vibrators and having my friends come over and try them. Eva is designed to stay nestled in the vulva. So it uses these bendable wings that move with your body to stay in place. And that was pretty hard to develop. So I had friends come over and try these things out. and do like plies naked in front of me. So I have really great friends.
Oh my God.
I know.
Love that.
I mean, visual, like if you want to know if something works, seeing somebody interact with it is really the most effective way. And then I was really blessed to meet my co-founder, Janet, who went to MIT for mechanical engineering. She was also trying to start a sex toy company at the same time as me. And I think that really proves how lacking the industry is and how many women were interested or saw the opportunity there. It wasn't just me. So she took these crazy prototypes I was making, tried them at home, and was like, I can make this for you. So she used to design 3D printers, and then we used those 3D printers to create prototypes that we had people test and try. We had about 70 couples test Eva before we went live on Indiegogo, which is a crowdfunding platform where we raised $575,000 in 45 days for our product.
Wow. What was the goal?
The goal was 50,000. So that was...
What?
That's insane.
It was insane. I mean,
what?
It was funny because like people are like, did you, people are like, oh, how were you surprised by this success? And like, yes, it was a runaway success campaign. So in some ways, like, I was hoping we were going to do $250,000. But on the flip side, like I had just been unemployed for the past 6 months working on this vibrator because I really believed it was a powerful thing that needed to exist in the world and was a good idea. So I was both so humbled and grateful that like people showed up and saw the vision that I was trying to create, and also did feel like people were like, were you surprised? And it's like a little bit, but I also really believed that this was a good idea.
Yeah.
So that's how we got started. Since then, we've just kind of been growing every year. Now we have about 7 different products, everything from vibrators designed for couples, vibrators designed for masturbation, to all natural lubricants and a body positioning pillow. And we're going to keep on expanding. We really want to be a holistic one-stop shop for all of your sexual needs. So stay tuned.
So much to unpack. But I'd love I love how your vision and your passion for this industry and like the lack of products that were more like sex positive and female centered or focused. And like, I'm just curious, was there any like doubt and shame just because, you said your parents' reaction to, you talking about meeting, transgender people at a party in school was like, oh my God, like how could our child talk about that? So around this venture and this passion, did you have any pushback, and how did you, move forward? Because you seem like just like, hey, I'm doing this, like,
yeah,
please step aside. But for people out there who are doing something that maybe their family is like, whoa, what are you doing? How can they navigate that?
Oh man, it's a tough question. So for me, by the time I started this business, I had already gotten my master's in clinical psychology with the hopes of being a sex therapist. So my parents were really comfortable with the part of my life that was pro-sex or sex positive. They like knew that was important to me. In fact, they were so happy that I'm Jewish. So they were so excited that I was becoming an entrepreneur instead of a therapist. They were like, my dad was like so excited. And like, I remember going to the country club and seeing my grandma while I was working on it. And she was sitting with all of her lady friends that they, play mahjong with. And she was like, Alexandra, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, well, I realized, oh my God, I'm about to explain to a bunch of like 80-plus-year-old women what I do. And I was like, I'm starting a sex toy company. And it was like dead silent. And then one of them goes, I'll take one. And the whole table was like into it. So I think it depends. I think if you put yourself out there and if you are unashamed of what you're doing, sometimes it's really surprising how people will respond without that shame too. Like you've just given them the language and a visualization about what it looks like to be unashamed about wanting sexual pleasure. And so many people, that's all they needed to then not have shame for themselves. But I think it's hard. And I think, I tend to want to give people advice to do what feels right for them. I think listening to your physical body and how it feels, imagining yourself doing something. Like, let's say it's you launching your business is going to be something that your parents are not going to approve. Like, sit with that visualization. Sit with, like, what does it feel like to own your business? What does it feel like every day to wake up and make sex toys or a lubricant or talk about whatever it is? And imagine also how your parents feel about it. Is it worth it for you? And if it is, then do it. And I generally just feel like you should do it. Your heart wants. But it's hard because
the heart wants vibrators.
The heart wants vibrators, but the heart also, like I'm very blessed. So is Janet. Our parents are so supportive of what we do. I think they both feel differently about it, but ultimately they support us. And that's really, I feel so grateful, so much gratitude for that. Yeah, I guess we're really lucky that our parents see what we do as valid and important, because it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's completely. And something about your story that I wanted to dig into was like, how did you build prototypes for these? Like, what was that like? Because every vagina is different. So I'm wondering about how you did measuring, sizing, the components of it. How did you get into that?
Yeah, and every product is different too. So for our first product, before I met my co-founder, which I think she is a product designer. So I think she really had the skills that a lot of people don't have in figuring out how to prototype. But before I met her, one of the first things I did is I took a $50 coin and I wrapped it in cellophane and I put it in between my labia and majora to see if it would stay in place. And that was like the very first thing I did. And it stayed in place. And I like ran around the house, like to my now husband. I was like, look what I did. And he didn't come with anything. But I always encourage people who have like a physical product idea, like you can probably make something that proves some kind of proof of concept for really cheap. And then from there, I bought vibrators and I took those vibrators apart to get like the basic wiring and motor. And I would wrap them in moldable plastic that I found from a hardware store. And that's how I started making made by hand vibrators that my friends could try. And from there, I realized, okay, not like in order to make this work for a range of people, it needs to have a movable component. It can't be like, it has to be able to get a little bit smaller for some people, a little bit bigger for other people. Also, not only are all vulvas different between people, but your vulva is different within yourself, depending on how aroused you are, how spread open your legs are, all of that. So making something that kind of conforms to your body became really important early on. And then, we did try measuring people. That was not as successful. We tried molding our own.
I was going to say molding.
We molded our vulvas. Janet and I really became.
It's like on your fireplace now.
Pretty quickly. Not only because we started a business, but we like sat around and molded our vulvas together.
Give it to the hubby for Christmas or Hanukkah. You know what I mean?
No, it's like, what do you do with it? But it was a fun experience. It is cool to kind of look at it after. But the problem with those molds is they don't really move the way your body ends up really moving. So what Janet did was she just made all of these different prototypes that didn't work. They didn't vibrate. They were just the shape. And then we sent them out and people tried all of these different shapes so we could get some understanding of what stays in place and what doesn't before we made things that actually vibrated.
Wow.
Can you give us some like statistics on like the current state of how often women experience pleasure, orgasms? Are women masturbating? Are they using vibrators? And also the benefits, because not to be devil's advocate whatsoever, but we had a conversation a couple years ago on the podcast, and her opinion was that the overstimulation of that area could, inhibit pleasure during sex and all of these things. So I just love your take on that as well.
Yeah, sure. So I think like to back up just like the state of pleasure, we have a really great blog post that I wish I could remember all the stats from right now. But there's a lot of research that shows that women are experiencing overall less sexual pleasure than men, whether we quantify that in like the orgasm gap, which there's research that suggests that men are twice as likely to have an orgasm than women. especially in hookup culture, especially if it's earlier on in a relationship. And then there's also like my favorite study to point to is one where they asked people how pleasurable sex has been in the past year. And women were 4 times more likely than men to say that sex has been not at all pleasurable in the past year. And I think that really speaks to just the entitlement I think people feel as far as, is sex even supposed to feel pleasurable for me? And I think that there are a lot of women who they don't think it could feel better. So they're not even trying to make it feel better. And that's because a lot of the conversations we have, like men are never told that sex might feel painful for them, but women do think that sex might feel painful for them. And it might, but it also doesn't have to. I think that just there's more pain for women often in sex. So there's that. About 70% of women need clitoral stimulation in order to have an orgasm, which is something that I can't believe we don't educate on. So creating products that provide that stimulation has been key to what we do, even though internal stimulation is amazing as well. And then there was like the second part of those questions, which was...
So the idea that, overstimulating that area could kind of desensitize that area for sex. So meaning if you're not using a partner positive vibrator, what your thoughts are on that, or if there's any like science behind that.
Yeah. So the research that I'm familiar with does show that there's been no desensitization of the nerve endings from vibrator use in like over long term. So short term, yes. If you sit on your hand for a long time, your hand's going to go numb. If you use a vibrator for a long time, like your body, that's kind of sometimes why even in BDSM where they flog before they spank, you actually can kind of almost warm up your nerve endings and they dampen over time. But that's really short term. It's not a long-term sensation, numbing, but you can kind of numb yourself out during a session. I do also think that when it comes to sex, but when it comes to any type of like pleasure reward system with your brain, if something is giving you pleasure and you're doing something, you're going to start creating a habit to have that experience over and over again. So I do think that if you keep on using a vibrator and you use it in this one position consistently, and that's the only way you orgasm, there's a good chance that might become the only way you really can access an orgasm. And it's not because you're using a vibrator, it's because you're creating a connection because you're creating a habit, and a really strong habit because it has so much pleasure that's tied to it. So I always encourage people to change up their masturbation routine.
What does that look like?
So that means look, whether it's making sure you're not watching the same category on Pornhub over and over again, if you're watching Pornhub, to trying different products, sometimes using a vibrator, sometimes not using a vibrator, masturbating on your stomach versus your back. I think it's just about having diversity in your routine. I mean, and also, hey, if every time your partner eats you out, you have an orgasm and you want to, and that works for you, that's great. That works for you. But I do think that we can continue to learn how to have pleasure in different ways and I think it's a worthwhile thing to explore.
I'm really excited to continue talking about a brand that we introduced you to recently called Mineral. And Mineral formulations utilize the entire hemp plant, which allows cannabinoids and terpenes to create this symbiotic relationship to increase the likelihood of the solution delivering its targeted benefits. They create incredible oils, ingestibles, as well as salves and oils to put on your body for just a totally elevated experience in wellness. And they maintain the plant's omega fatty acids, vitamins, and flavonoids through extraction so that their oil can obtain the highest bioavailability and efficiency in the body. And their formulations represent an organic expression of cannabinoids and terpenes through Mineral identified hemp genetics. It's really interesting. They actually outline their entire process on their website. If you go to the science, they're super transparent about their formulating, their bottling, their testing. There's absolutely no pesticides. So before the plant is harvested, they test to maintain a pesticide-free yield. Their hemp plants are grown 100% organically without the use of heavy metals or solvents. And their products, y'all, damn, I just feel real special when I use them, to be honest. They're just so elevated and high vibration. Right now, I am loving the Sosa oil. I spoke about this the other week. I mean, my skin feels absolutely incredible. This is an intensive cannabinoid-rich hydrating body treatment oil for dry and inflamed bodies. And this really cools and hydrates and it's just so refreshing and smells of like blood orange and lavender. I mean, spa, hello. And so check out their products. Again, they have sublinguals, topicals, and you can also subscribe to receive a monthly delivery, which is really awesome. So if you'd like to learn more, mineralhealth.co, and you can use our code almost30 for 15% off your first order. So that's mineralhealth.co, and you can use the code almost30 for 15% off. We found an incredible female-founded company that is closing the pleasure gap. They're granting humanity access to healthy, joyful sex. Their products are absolutely incredible, and they are Dame. So dameproducts.com, you will find the perfect toy for your needs. And these are made from high quality materials. They are user researched and honestly made with common sense, which is nice. For once. My favorite right now is the Eva 2. The Eva 2 is really, she has a personality of her own. She has flexible wings that tuck under your labia, and it provides stimulation during sex. So, it'll stimulate your clit. So basically it's for you while, your partner wants to go inside or not, or maybe it's just for you and you. It's real nice. It has 3 settings. I love it. And it's made from medical grade silicone. So you don't have to worry about like weird plastics on you or inside of you. I also really love the Palm, which is a powerful, versatile vibrator that flexes to your needs. So it's flexible. I also wanted to shout out the Sex Pillow. It's just an incredible like little wedge pillow that you can use during sex to make it more comfortable for you. I mean, like, how are people thinking of these things? It's just perfect. And of course, we have Alexandra Fine on the podcast today. She is a sexologist who teamed up with Janet Lieberman, an engineer. They are both co-founders of Dame. And I mean, match made in heaven, just created these incredible products that are thoughtful. They are building a welcoming community around sex, around pleasure, around these conversations, that they're designing innovative tools and bringing life-changing education to our bedrooms. So if you'd like to learn more, visit dameproducts.com and you can use our code almost30 for 15% off your first order. That's dameproducts.com, DAME products.com. Use our code almost30 for 15% off.
Yeah, what was your journey of exploring your body and getting to know your body? You know, how did you come to a place? What'd you say?
I don't remember not masturbating. Like I was talking about this the other day, and we were going around. Everybody was talking about the first time they masturbated. And I had...
Is that how we start meetings at Dame HQ?
Yeah, that's how we do it. And we had one person who was saying like, they really remember being like, I'm going to masturbate today. I am going to figure this vulva out, and having like this real clear intention with that experience versus people who, were climbing a rope in gym class or doing something that...
Wow.
Stimulated them and they discovered something in that way. I remember being as young as 6 and using my stuffed animals as things I was rubbing myself up against. Mm-hmm. Classic. Yeah, but it's only been like, I don't even think when it's funny because I can say that so casually now, but I think like 5-10 years ago, it was hard to admit like, yeah, I used to hump the poop out of Fluffy. Like,
totally.
Yeah, it was a security toy, but like what kind of security it was giving me, my mom did not know. But it turns out it's like a really common thing that a lot of young girls do. But even I like had shame around talking about those things out loud. Anyway, so that was definitely a part of my journey, was discovering pleasure in my body from a pretty young age and enjoying that. And even enjoying like I knew it was bad and I kind of liked that too, you know, it's fun to be bad. And for me, I think kind of coming into my own and I'm still learning, like I'm learning how to just enjoy the pleasure simply for the pleasure's sake. I still find myself really in fantasy land, really like wanting to, I'm married now. We've been together for 8 years, and my husband and I will sit around and just talk about how like you meet a new person and there's so much tingles there. And it's really, you can't sustain that. I think it's kind of challenging to sustain because you know each other. When somebody touches you for the first time, the way that it impacts your parasympathetic nervous system is simply just going to be different than when you know them, because your body isn't going to have the same reaction because they feel more comfortable with that touch. So like, how do we keep that spark alive? And for me, it's learning how to not get so caught up in the, oh my God, how is he going to touch me? What's going to happen? Yada, yada, yada. But just enjoying the actual sensation of pleasure as it's happening. And that is easier said than done. I definitely feel like I'm on a lifelong journey of like, I don't think when people are like, oh, you're a sexpert. Like, I don't feel like I'll ever be a sexpert. And I think that's like the coolest part about sex is that there's always like something new to learn and discover about yourself.
What do those conversations look like with your husband if you want to kind of like explore new territory for anyone out there who like feels a little bit, you know, shy or embarrassed to like have these conversations with their partner? Like, how could they have fun in starting them?
Yeah. So for me, now it's funny because it's like, I thought this was such a unique experience, but now I've heard so many other people have the same experience, which is I was never really interested in monogamy. I was always interested in both genders. But mostly heterosexual. So I mostly have dated men, but was interested in having threesomes with them and also interested in exploring outside of the relationship, which I always thought would be cool. Like, what guy doesn't want a partner who is down for outside of the relationship? But that was that makes so many assumptions about like how guys are supposed to want non-monogamy, you know, like that's not necessarily true. And in fact, it like caused a lot of issues in relationships. But for me, I would very casually in the beginning of my relationships be like, you know, like I'm interested in non-monogamy, or like, wouldn't it be fun if we did this? And I actually really struggled because it wasn't hard to say it. It was hard to make sure my partner still felt like I really cared about them, even though I was suggesting something outside, which when I was younger, I didn't even realize, like, I just thought like, isn't that cool? Like,
Yeah.
you know, like,
I think that's a stereotype that a lot of people work against. And I feel like there's a lot of women in your position that actually feel like they can't fully express that part of themselves because either they do and they have the assumption that all men want more than one partner, all men want to have threesomes, and maybe they do or maybe they don't. But it's a weird position that I think more and more people are coming to a place where they're realizing that with how long we live in life and being married to one person is, you know, the goal for a lot of people, that there is a lot of life to be lived, you know, sexually that they want to explore.
I think like for my part, I have two thoughts. One, which is I think a lot of my partners throughout life would also think they were cool with it. They'd be like, yeah, of course I want that because I'm a guy and that's cool. And my guy friends are going to think that's cool. But actually it wasn't something that they wanted. And they really did experience a lot of jealousy.
So it's the communication with your partners and then Did you bring that in? Is that something you explore or talk about with your husband, or how do you remedy that right now?
Yeah, we're monogamish, I think, for us. And it was, it's something that I was much more interested in than him. He definitely likes to make the not so very funny joke about like how he's super down with him, being open. It is like the jealousy on the other side. And for me, I do experience jealousy, but I find that jealousy can be really reinvigorating. It makes me immediately realize that I actually want my partner.
I love
Sometimes
that.
I'm like, yeah, that's my partner. All of a sudden, he just doesn't seem as attractive to me. I see him flirting with somebody else. And like, maybe for a split second, I'm like, rage. But then I'm like, oh, I want him. Like, it makes me realize that I have such strong feelings for this person. And also like, how hot is he that other people want him too? Yeah, and like, so I try to really sit with those feelings and then like appreciate and have gratitude that I'm getting to experience passion, and that was kind of how I moved through jealousy into something that feels a little bit more like compersion. Are you guys familiar with the concept of compersion?
No.
It's when you see somebody else feeling joy, that you feel joy too. So I think some people talk about seeing their partner have sex with somebody else and seeing their partner enjoy that sex and feeling joy simply because their partner's having joy, which I think that does sound like love to me, like just wanting my partner to have the best life that he can have. I don't want him to feel like he's making compromises for me. And I think that's how my partner feels towards me. But then there is also something that feels really beautiful about having these things that are special to us. So for us, it's about just defining our boundaries. We tend to take if we're not in the same city approach, I think, and also we're really open with like just letting each other flirt and seeing where the night goes. I think neither one of us wants to have that feeling like they met somebody and they could have had this really fun night, but they're married. So they feel like they can't talk to the person because they have energy, or like you have to like I want him to just enjoy his life as much as he can and like expand. And I think, he mostly feels that way too. And I don't know. So that's how we approach it. And it's kind of an ongoing conversation. But I also feel like, look, I'm setting myself up to never, I don't want to say to never, because I feel like that means it'll happen somehow. But it's hard. It's harder to, I think, since our boundaries are being communicated, I think he knows and I know that if I'm feeling like I really do want to explore something, I can talk about it beforehand. I feel like we're less likely to lie to each other or cheat on each other because we have compassion for each other's feelings outside of that. And we don't conflate our desires for other things with us not feeling inspired by each other. I think those are separate.
Right. Yeah, wow. It's so interesting and inspiring in that way to keep like a relationship super dynamic. And that could look different for everyone. So it looks that way for you, and someone might not be able to do what you guys do, but it might be able to make it dynamic in another way. But I think that's sometimes where relationships become stagnant, where it becomes that constant and reliable thing, quote unquote. Yeah. But then we tend to not give it enough attention and almost like review, for lack of a better term. And so it just, I think, loses that passion and that fire. So I think it's really interesting to hear about your relationship and how that could look for different people.
And to be honest, guys, we mostly talk about it. We really, and I know that's another common thing I hear in the poly space, which is, we don't really have that many extramarital experiences, but even just feeling like we could feels so freeing. Like it
almost like dissipates the energy around it. Because sometimes it's like, oh, you have the feeling and then you're like, oh, then you judge it. You're like, oh, that's bad. And then you feel bad or you feel shameful. And it's just like getting rid of that energy of shame and feeling bad around the whole feeling either makes you clear on if you want to do it or not, or it makes you be like, oh, it was actually just like me wanting to be like a little rebellious in the state and me wanting to be bad and me wanting to like feel this way.
Yeah. And I think something that you're kind of touching on there that I think is really powerful within our like learning about our sexual energy and how that can just help us learn about ourselves, which is exploring things that we're not sure we're like of what we want.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Right? Like
Completely.
I think I want to hook up with somebody else, or I think whatever it is, when you go to explore it, it's okay to find out it's not what you want.
Yeah.
Like, maybe.
Have you ever done that where you like kind of got into it and you're like, oh, actually, like you were getting it into the place with someone and you're like, oh, I don't want this. Like,
I would say
has that
yes. Oh my God.
Really? Yeah. And you're like, no, this is actually not what I want.
I've had a lot of everything from, I think one of my more recent experiences was I was like flirting with this guy at the bar, and I was so excited because it was like one of my few nights of feeling like single Al, which is like that part of me that like it's a slightly different personality.
Yes.
Anyway, I had a great time, and then we kissed. And the second we started kissing, I was like, I don't actually care about this part at all. So I realized like it was just all about the flirtation and feeling desired and desiring, like, like that energy.
Yeah.
And actually when we started kissing, I was kind of like, I just wish my husband was kissing me, Like,
yeah, totally. And it's like, it's also too like in wanting someone to want you.
Yeah.
In like a very general sense, you're like, okay, I want people to still want me. I want to be desired. And of course you want to be desired by your partner, but there is that general feeling of like having others admire and desire what you find to be so amazing is like very validating. So I could totally see that.
Yeah. I mean, there's something about when my partner tells me I'm beautiful, like sometimes when he says it, I'm like, oh, you just are saying it,
of course.
Which is unfair for me, but there's something about getting it from outside validation. Like I think your partner, because Esther Perel will kind of talk about your partner feels more and more and more like you. And like, which is nice to tell yourself you're pretty, but external validation is really powerful in a different way.
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely. I'm curious too, like, bringing in toys into the bedroom and how like, I don't know if there's any studies on it or what you've heard from your community at Dame about like the male or the masculine response to it.
Yeah.
Around like, not feeling like they're enough. And then also the response of like, does it feel just as good for them as well to be stimulating? Like if you were going to use the partner toys?
Yeah. So great questions. I think that it runs the gambit. We've had everything from men returning a product saying, hey, my wife, like I bought this for my wife and I, and she refuses to use it. Like she's not interested.
Whoa.
Right. So we've had like that to, I think like we don't actually get customer reviews of this, but of course there are men out there who are intimidated by the products. Like I'll definitely tell somebody what I do. And the first thing they'll say is like, oh, well, my wife doesn't need that, but really it's not a reflection of them at all.
Right.
I think that there is a surprising amount of men out there who buy these products for their partners and are really interested in seeing their partners enjoy sex. So it just happens in all the different ways. I think there's probably some strong polarity, but I don't have any research to support that. Meaning like there are definitely men out there who are like the kind of guys that would literally buy these products because they want their partners to enjoy and they love using that to see the results. And then there's a cohort of men who feel really intimidated by these products, and that exists as well. And then as far as the way these products feel for them, a lot of men really do like vibration. There are some products out there that are designed to give vibration to both partners. Our toys are not as much so. I guess Finn, you can really use it anywhere on anybody's body. It's a little handheld bullet vibrator that you can wear on your fingertips. So like anybody can explore that. My partner really likes that on his nipples. So some guys really like it on their balls and some guys do not. But then say like Eva is designed primarily to give clitoris stimulation. We have had some men who say that they feel it either on their lower abs or on their balls in doggy style, like their balls on slapping it. And usually they have positive things to say, but some men are like, oh my God, this sensation's totally different and I'm uncomfortable by it. But most people seem to really like the sensation.
Yeah, I love that. And I've loved it too. I felt like it's just an amazing, like intuitive product for sure. You mentioned something earlier about porn, like people mixing up their porn and Pornhub. What are your thoughts on porn, the porn industry, where women should be getting or consuming their porn? Because I always am just curious because I flip-flop on it a lot, of feeling like it's a empowering movement towards people being more open about sex, but then also hearing other stories about the industry. So what do you think?
It's both. I mean, it's both of those things at the same time. And it's really challenging to like when I was in college and like this sex positive feminist, like maybe I still am, but really just wanted porn to be empowering, period. Like I just felt like it could be, and that's what it should be. And these women, or people that this is a perfectly acceptable way for people to make a living if this is what they want to do. But then as I learned more, or my personal experiences with people in the porn industry have been both, but I've had some really negative experiences that have made me feel like treated like, just even the way men in the space would talk to me has made me uncomfortable. So I definitely think that that's there as well. I think that if you look at the payment structures, sometimes it's not so great. And it's really like if I was a perfect person, I probably wouldn't watch porn on Pornhub. I would go and I would pay from a feminist organization where I knew Erica Lust. Or there are people who make porn with a feminist lens that I think are worthwhile supporting. I also think it's really hard to be a perfect person in the world. Like even Erica Lust has had people say not great things about her porn sets. And she's kind of like in my head, the goal of what you would want a porn set to be like. And there's also, I think this is a little bit less interesting for women looking for erotic content, but there are the cam girl industry and the way that's really changing is amazing. And it kind of gives Many Vids, which is actually owned and operated by a woman. I think that they're really looking to help empower the cam girls so that they can make more money directly and have more agency over their careers.
Right.
Really cool. So I think in some ways the internet is kind of helping women have more of a direct connection and make money and get a bigger cut of the value that they're creating. And then there's also some really cool new ways of getting erotic content. Like I love
Snapchat stuff.
There's Snapchat, but there's also a company called Dipsy, who I'm going to plug right now. You guys should hit them up they're great. They make, it's like Audible porn. So you can listen to erotic content.
Wow.
Which is pretty cool. Yeah.
Wow. I love that. The audio is cool. And I think, in the Facebook group, we should all kind of share if you guys have any feminist porn sites or sites that you feel like are thoughtful in that area. We know of some like Lady Cheeky, Pink Label TV, stuff like that. But I think it would be smart to kind of dig into that because, and I actually want to do a full episode on the porn industry and sort of the drug use of some of the women, of like underage porn, of like the discrimination of people just taking advantage of people. There's so much that's going on that needs to be looked at. And because it is the sex industry, people assume that that's normal, or people assume that is just par for the course. But I think that we could be safer and more thoughtful about it. Not I'm supporting the industry, of course, but I think that we just need to be thoughtful for the women that are in it, and hopefully they're not being taken advantage of.
I totally agree. I think that also, like, because whenever there's an industry that's viewed as like a shadow industry or something that is like
exactly
bad, it allows for bad things to happen there.
Totally. Yep.
To just go out and blindly support the porn industry, you actually might end up hurt. Like it's not cut and dry. And like I was saying, it's both so empowering and it can be so harmful at the same time, or definitely has been harmful.
Krista and I were nerding out the other day. We got our Paragon results back. I'll get to that in a moment. But what's really cool about Paragon is that they use a hair test. And I was like, wait, why do they want my hair? Like saliva I've done, all this other stuff, but hair? So I took a little snip of my hair. You got to weigh it on this cute little balance thing, and then you send it in and you take this questionnaire that's really in depth, and the results are absolutely incredible. Again, I'll get to that in a second. But what I didn't know is that your health depends on key mineral levels inside cells, as intracellular minerals activate vitamins and enzymes inside cells. Blood tests measure levels outside cells, and the two are often not related. For example, most magnesium is stored in cells, whereas less than 2% is stored in blood, so blood is not a good indicator. On the other hand, hair minerals reveal key information on mineral, vitamin, and overall enzyme balances inside your cells, and a clear window into cell health. Metabolic activity also, and type, granular, and hormonal activity, nutrient levels, and any ongoing toxic metal exposures. Just so fascinating. I had no idea. So we sent in our results and we get a personal nutritional assessment, which is pretty awesome. So basically, using your testing results, the hair sample with your questionnaire, they generate a monthly vitamin subscription that is designed to rebalance your metabolism and your health with it. So basically, you're going to start thriving instead of just surviving. And you can do this for as little as $1.50 a day. So I'm really excited for you to learn more. Their website is incredible. There's so much information about the science, how vitamins work, why supplements, why hair testing, their method, their formulations, as well as a list of the products. So for our listeners, we're really excited. You're going to get the Paragon Vitamins Nutritional Assessment and 4 weeks of free vitamins for just $90, which is 30% off the original price of $129. So that's really awesome to get such an extensive, deep analysis of what's going on in your beautiful body that could be thriving on a whole other level. So you can go to paragonvitamins.com. Use the code almost30 at checkout to get 30% off. So you're going to get Paragon Vitamins Nutritional Assessment and 4 weeks of free vitamins for just $90. Paragonvitamins.com. Use the code almost30. If you are a small business owner, you got into your line of work because of your passion. We feel you, we hear you, we've been there, we are there. But if tedious admin work is keeping you from doing the part of the job you actually love, HoneyBook can take those tasks off your to-do list so you can focus on why you started your business in the first place. When we found HoneyBook, I cannot tell you. It completely changed the game for Krista and I. HoneyBook is an online business management tool that organizes your client communications, bookings, contracts, and invoices all in one place. It's perfect for freelancers, entrepreneurs, or small business owners that want to consolidate services they already use, like QuickBooks, Google Suite, Excel, and MailChimp. And with HoneyBook, you can automate your busy work. Isn't that the dream? They have easy-to-use templates for emails, proposals, brochures, and invoices. And they also have e-signatures and built-in automation to save you time and get you paid faster. So, now's the time. Simplify your to-do list, stay in control with HoneyBook. And I'm really excited because HoneyBook is offering our listeners 50% off when you visit tryhoneybook.com/almost30. Payment is flexible and this promotion applies whether you pay monthly or annually. So go to tryhoneybook.com/almost30 for 50% off your first year. That's tryhoneybook.com/almost30.
Sometimes I feel like there's the view within the porn industry that's like, we all need to support it and we all need to believe in it because it is now being turned into like a thought as like a feminist movement to support women enjoying sex. But sometimes I think that people force others to believe that thought. And if people want to disagree with the porn industry, I think that there is safety in they should also be able to free their speech that way if they are against porn, if they do not agree in porn. But overall, we should all come together in the agreement that people should be paid fairly. It should be, the hours should be regulated. Like we should have more of a say in regulating the industry because it is so big.
And I also think that doing mental health checks and like whatever,
Yeah.
it is an intense career.
Yes, of course. Physical and all of those things.
And also, I just think sex work in general, it's both simultaneously can be like the line between when you're being empowered versus when you're being, objectified or exploited is, really, it's a thin line and only you get to decide.
Yep,
definitely.
And just making sure that these people have all the right resources is ideal.
Yeah.
I actually just wanted to make a point about the intersection that you talk about, which I think about quite often, is like that this is my life, is like the duality of everything. So thinking about being sexually empowered, but also where are you acting like you're empowered, but you're actually just conditioned to be sexual. And then, there's just so much that goes into sexuality. It is one of the most like layered topics of all time. And how do you manage that? Like, do you educate yourself? Do you continue conversations with you and your team? Like, how do you work through all the different narratives that we are told to in the sexual arena?
It's hard. I mean, I think like our favorite word here at Dame Product is nuance, because it is always nuanced. There is rarely a cut and dry answer to the questions that were being asked. Like, I think what you had just suggested is such a powerful question. Like, if you feel empowered, but other people think that they're exploiting you, are you empowered? Like there's no easy answer to that. So, but it's fun to think about. I mean, I think that the nuances and the layering is what makes the topic so fascinating and so intriguing and powerful. Sex is how we exist. Sex is often our most joyful experiences, but it can also be some of our most traumatic. And I think that just speaks to how powerful sex really is in our lives, yet we just ignore it. We don't talk about it. We don't educate about it. And we're just hoping that we're going to have this thriving, passionate sex life that's going to be somehow indicative of this better life that we're having. Yet there's no education, hence Dame's blog and a lot of the work that we do is like, we realized like one of the things that we do that's really special in the space is we have a big community called Dame Labs, and we test all of our products with real people before they get developed. And one of the things we've learned through there is literally just having the conversations so we can find out what products we need to make is challenging in and of itself. We don't have the lexicon. We, struggle to communicate our sexual needs. So, that Labs has actually become this really powerful just community of people who are interested in educating each other and expressing their challenges. So it's also a secret Facebook group too. Yeah.
For our girls.
And what would surprise people about the benefits of having, a consistent, kind of sexual, like private or with your partner, that routine? That sounds boring. You know what I mean? Like benefits to your health.
Definitely. I mean, so having orgasms and masturbating are correlated with just overall higher quality of life, more sexual pleasure in your interpersonal sex life, lower stress. It can actually boost your immune system. Some research has shown that masturbation is correlated with a decrease in certain cancers. But I think it's like, what does it look like in life when you have an urge and you satisfy that urge? If you have a desire or a need and then you express that need and you fulfill that need, that is what thriving feels like. And sex is a desire and need that we have. And I think fulfilling it helps us thrive.
Yeah, it's so interesting because it's like sex is related to stress. So your ability to de-stress, stress is related to so many different, issues related to health and mental wellness. So there's that point. And then sex is also related to connection and connection with others, connection with people that you love. So the fact that it touches on a lot of different points that are related to healthy, it's just, again, such a nuanced place, but I really do believe in all the benefits that, I see within it.
I think even the things you just mentioned are connected, because when you're stressed, sometimes it's harder to stay present with yourself or your partner to then feel sexy and stay in that sexy present moment without starting to think about the to-do list or the email that you didn't respond to. And then it prevents you from connecting. So they're actually really all related. I like to tell people that I think masturbation is our most natural form of meditation. Like, it's a movement practice that your body urges you to do, that forces you to stay in your body, like turn off the rest of your day and become really present, even if it's within your fantasy lands, and have a moment just for yourself, which I think is really powerful. I definitely find on my days that I really can't meditate, that masturbating is a nice little way of getting there. If I really can't turn off my brain, using a vibrator can help me. Yeah. I mean, and then it's wild too, because like, we are stymied by so many institutions. Like, being a female entrepreneur is hard. Being a female entrepreneur in this category is particularly difficult. Everything from not being able to run advertisements on Facebook to I've had office loans denied because of what we do. I'm suing the MTA because they wouldn't let us run advertisements saying that like our products were too sexual, but they allow erectile dysfunction medications to run advertisements. So it's like, all right, and I've realized how much we have to fight for our right to market and advertise and tell people about what we do, because it's often viewed as sexual, like as prurient, meaning like our company is viewed as encouraging a harmful amount of sex in the world. But that's not true. We're just trying to encourage people to have quality sex, to feel empowered, to have sex that isn't painful, that feels good for them.
Is that a law? That word prurient, did you say?
Yeah, prurient.
Prurient, is that like a law that a lawyer would use in like a case?
It's the word that is often used in like legal documentations that prevent people from existing. And I'm always like, well, we're not of a prurient sexual nature. We're just of a sexual nature. And what's wild to me is that people will view erectile dysfunction medication as medically necessary, while vibrators are not medically necessary. And the argument there is like, well, men need erections in order to have sex, but women don't need vibrators in order to have sex. But the truth is, like, nobody needs to have sex. These are both products that help us enjoy sex or have a higher quality of life. And I think the idea that men need erections in order to have sex, but women don't need vibrators, is one that just centers around the male experience and doesn't really understand like the female body or what women need.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. Last question for me, just related to, being a female entrepreneur with your business and your company and working with a co-founder. What has been like your experience? I'd love to just dig into, even if it's at a high level, what it's been like, coming from working at a company as an employee and then starting your own business.
I would say, I think it's like the HOV lane to enlightenment. I think you realize how you just can't blame anything on anybody else when you're the entrepreneur. Like, it all comes down on you. If you ask somebody to do something and they didn't do it, like, that's still like, did I ask them to do it correctly? And ultimately, like, I still need them to get it done. But like, how can I be better? I'm constantly asking myself more than ever in my life what I can be doing to be better. And while there's some days that's so hard because we've done so well and there's so much to be proud of, and I'm looking in the mirror thinking like, how can I be better? But on the flip side, I really do feel like tremendous personal growth over the past 5 years. I feel like I have so much more compassion for anybody doing anything because I can see more how everything's interconnected. And I also think that if one day I end up having a salaried job, I would really appreciate it. I would be so grateful to work for somebody else. I don't know if I will. I love working for myself, but I would definitely enjoy something different. Like my friends get annoyed with me because they'll be like, my boss did this thing and it was so annoying. And I'll be like, well, did you think about it from your boss's perspective? So like, I've really become an annoying friend, but they're both really valid and beautiful ways to experience life. And I don't know, I wouldn't change my path for the world. It's been incredibly hard. And I do think it's been a really powerful way of growing.
And as entrepreneurs too, it's just like really nice to meet others and just how you're humbled by managing a team and owning a business and connecting with your community and also empowered. And it's a really fun and growth-filled roller coaster.
It really is a roller coaster. And I think feeling humbled is always, there are always so many moments where I just feel so humbled by what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. How can our community find you and find Dame Products?
Yeah, so we're dameproducts.com. We're Dame Products on all of the internet. So Instagram, Facebook, wherever. I am a fine human on Instagram. My content, because I'm Alex Fine and I'm a human. I'm not very good on Instagram though, so I don't even know why I put it out there. But if you want to follow along in my journey, that's where you can find me.
Awesome.
I love that. And then Almost 30 is the code for all the Dame products. Me and Lindsay have a few of them. We love them. They're so easy to use, gorgeous, and just get the job done. This has been so much fun. I'm really just excited and inspired by you. And I found our conversation just to be exactly what I needed. You're so good on podcasts and on camera. I wish people could see your face. But thank you so much for taking the time this afternoon. I can't wait to see you when you come to LA. We can, have coffee and we can get more products from you. What?
I got to get you guys a positioning pillow. Those are like...
I will use it for probably just sleeping.
It's great. It's not great for sleeping, but it's great for eating off of because it's easy to clean.
Is it like a triangle?
It's a triangle, but it's too hard to really sleep on because it's got to like lift your hips up.
About that, right?
Use it for their laptops all the time.
All the time.
Those girls that are like, I don't want to have sex. I'm going to use it for my laptop.
It's a great tool to have in your life. There's so many ways you can use it. All right.
Love it. You're a genius. Thank you so much for being here. It was a blast, and we will see you soon.
Yeah.
See you soon. Bye, girl.
Bye.
Thanks so much to Alexandra Fine, sexologist, founder of Dame. You can go to dameproducts.com, use our code almost30 for 15% off. And I hope this is the start of a conversation. You can join our secret Facebook group where there is over 15,000 women having honest, real, heart-opening, funny, inspiring conversations every single day. So I'd love to start a conversation around sex, relationships, and intimacy, pleasure, just things that maybe you've found to be taboo earlier in your life. And now we can just have an open conversation so you can expand your world.
Yeah, expand that world. And we'll see you in Malibu. We're looking forward to hosting our retreat in 2020. You can go to our website for more information. Your Podcast Pro, YOUR Podcast Pro, has all the resources that took us from our closet floors to our kitchen tables. It really helped us grow Almost 30. And we just want to support you guys in getting your voices heard in 2020. So thank you so much for being a part of our community, our lives. We appreciate and read every DM and message that you send. We love you very much.
Love you. See you on the next one.